In this lesson, we are going to talk about universal set, unit set, which is also known as singleton, empty set, which is also known as null set. We are also going to look into what we call disjoint set. And lastly, we're going to talk about power of a set. So let's get into it. Now let's start with universal set. What exactly is universal set? The set which contains all the possible elements under consideration is known as universal set, or the set that contains all the elements under discussion is said to be a universal set. Symbolically, we represent universal set with this particular symbol that looks like mu. Some will use something like epsilon, a mix of these two symbols to represent universal set. Now, we said it is a set that includes all the elements under discussion. Now, what do we mean by that? We said, let's say if A is a set, and A include an element 1, 2, 3, and B is also a set, and B include elements 2, 4, 6. Now, let's now say C is also a set, but C include elements from 1 all the way to 10. Now, we can consider set C as a universal set. Why? Because it includes all the elements in set A and set B. Okay, so we can just consider set C as a universal set. So basically, that is what we mean by universal set. So when we said a universal set, it means all other sets we are going to be discussing are going to depend on this universal set. All the elements in them are going to depend on this universal set. So hopefully you guys are now able to figure out what a universal set really means. Now let's move into what we call an empty set. What exactly is an empty set? A set that contains no element is known as an empty set. This is also called a null set. So if we have a set whereby there's no element in that set, then the particular set is said to be an empty set. So we make use of empty brackets to represent an empty set, or a symbol like phi to represent an empty set. Okay, now the third one is the singleton or the unit set. So what exactly is the singleton or unit set? When we have a set that consists of just a single element, just one element, the particular set is said to be a unit set or a single set. So let's say A is a set. So if A is a set, okay, and it includes element just 1 or just only 2, then A is said to be classified as a single set. Okay, now there are some things I want to get to take note. Okay, if you have a situation like this, now I will direct a question to you guys. Is this particular set a single set? That is it a unit set or an empty set? Okay, the particular set B is not a empty set. It is a unit set. Okay, if you have something like this as well, this is not a empty set, but a unit set. Please take note of that. We can only have an empty set if the O bracket is empty, or if you have only this symbol. Okay, but as soon as there is anything, irrespective of whatever it is, then it's no more a empty set. Okay, now let's move into what we call disjoint of a set. Okay, so what exactly is disjoint of a set? So now let's consider A and B to be a set. So for two sets to be disjoint, okay, there must be no element in common between them. Okay, let me put it in other way around. Two sets A and B are said to be disjoint if they do not have any element in common. Hopefully you guys get the definition that way. Okay, as soon as two sets doesn't have anything in common between them, then the particular sets are said to be a disjoint set. Now let's look into that using some examples. Okay, so let's say set A, okay, include element 1, 2, 3, 4, and set B include element 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, are these two sets, are they disjoint or joint? The fact that there is no any common element between set A and set B, then set A and set B is said to be a disjoint set. Okay, well, if it turns out that we have a common element between them, then we have what we call the joint set, because there will be an intersection between the particular sets. Okay, so now let's try to work out one example. So let's say X is a set and it include element of vowel sound. Vowel sound, okay. And also Y is a set and include element of consonants, letters, consonants. Now, is X and Y disjoint or joint? Okay, the fact that vowel sound are A, E, I, O, U, while consonant sound are the rest. Okay, now we will observe that there's no any common element between them, because E, A, I, O, U doesn't repeat themselves in this particular set Y. So therefore, set X and set Y are said to be a disjoint set. Okay, now without any further ado, let's get right away into the last part of set, or last type of set, which is known as power of a set. So what is power of a set? Now, before we move into that, you need to be familiar with what we call cardinality. What is cardinality? Cardinality is the number of elements in a set. And what do we mean by that? Let's say A is a set, okay, and it includes elements 1, 2, 3. Now, what is cardinality of set A? This is symbolically denoted as n of A, and this is simply equals to the number of elements in that particular set. The number of elements in set A is 3. So therefore, the cardinality of set A is simply 3. Now, let's move back to power of a set. We said, what is power of a set? The set that include all the subset of a particular set is said to be what? The power of a set. Okay, now what do we mean by that? If A is a set, let's consider the same example. Okay, no need of writing any other thing again. Okay, if A is a set that include elements 1, 2, 3, right? Now we said the set that include all the subset in set A will be the power of a set. Now, how can we find all the subset in set A? I want you guys to put this at the back of your mind. Empty set is a subset of all sets. Also, a set is a subset of itself. Okay, so I want you guys to take note of those two things. Now, I want you guys to know one thing again. The repetition of elements in a set is irrelevant. If you have one or more elements to repeat more than once, consider that element to be what? To be just one. Okay, consider it to be what? To be just one. The repetition doesn't matter. It is irrelevant. What do you mean by that? If you have a set that include 1, 1, 2, 3, and so on, now this set is still the same. Just consider it as 1, 2, 3. Okay, you can't repeat this twice because the repetition doesn't matter, it is irrelevant. Okay, hopefully you guys get what I mean by that. That's good. So let's move on. Now it said a set that includes all the subsets is known as what? A power of a set. Now before we move forward, we have one equations, okay, that helps us to know the amount of subset we are going to have, or yes, in a particular power of a set. Now what exactly is the equation? And this is what? 2 raised to the power of n. Okay, now what this equation really tells us, and what it really helps us about, is that it will tells you the amount of subset you are going to have in a particular set. Okay, now what exactly is the value of n? N simply means the cardinality. Okay, now for the first example, or the same example, we said we have 3 as the cardinality. So therefore we are going to have 2 raised to the power of 3, and 2 raised to the power of 3 is simply equals 8. So therefore the amount of subset we are going to have in this particular set A that include element 1, 2, 3 is going to be 8 subset. Now what are these subset? So let's start to list it out. Symbolically, we represent the power of a set as P, then the particular set in a bracket. So it will be P of A. Okay, this is the symbol used to represent or to denote power of a set. So it's simply so we start with the empty set. Okay, so the empty set is what? Okay, all right, then we start by splitting the element in the particular set. So 1 will be a subset of A. Okay, 2 will also be a subset of A. Okay, 3 will also be a subset of A. And the next thing is to what? Start associating them together. Okay, so we have 1, 2 to be a subset of A. Okay, and the next one is what? 1, 3 to be a subset of A. Now we are done with 1. The next one is what? 2. Now I want you guys to know that 1, 2 is the same as 2, 1. So don't repeat this. Okay, they are the same. Now 1, 3 is the same as what? 3, 1. So you are not repeating this anymore. The next thing you have to do is to what? To change it to the next level. Okay, so the next one is what? 2. So you can relate 2 and 3 together. Okay, so we have 2 and 3 to be a subset of the particular set A. Now the fact that we are done, there's no more any other element in set A left that we can associate together. Then the last subset will be what? Set A itself, because we said a set is a subset of itself. So we have 1, 2, 3. Okay, hopefully you guys are following, and you guys are now able to what? To know how to find the power of a set. Okay, what you just need to do, just to make use of that formula to find the amount of subsets you are going to have, and after that start splitting them one after the other. Okay, what exactly is subset? Subset is a set that include some or all the elements of a particular set. Okay, so that's that about power of a set. Okay, so please, if you like my video, give me a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please make sure you subscribe now. Okay, so thanks for watching, guys. See you guys in the next video. So here's the exercise that I have for you. By the way, if you want me to review your answer, you can comment it in the comment section below, then I will reply to it as early as possible. So here's the exercise. So that's that for this video. Thanks for watching once again.